Hello, everyone. Welcome to the second annual Encrypted Encounters episode, brought to you by Kingslayer Network and me. If you don't know who I'm talking about, let me introduce to you the Jersey Devil, Kal.
Oh, woo! I'm back.
How's it going, buddy?
Not bad. How are you? It's been a long time since we've been here.
I know it's still a little spooky, but you know, we both have been doing a lot of different stuff on our channel, so we didn't get to do the season of Encrypted this year, but tis the season.
Yes. How was your Halloween?
Oh, my Halloween's great. How was yours?
It was busy. I mean, like I said, I had to. We bought 4 bags of candy. I told my dad it wouldn't be enough. He's like, oh, it'll be enough. In 30 minutes, it was gone. 30 minutes. So then we had another 4.5 hours of kids coming with candy, and we had nothing.
See, we have the opposite problem. We don't have any kids trick-or-treating over here.
Yeah, I don't understand why that would happen, but
real quick, I just want to address the interweb and say thank you to a few people who helped us get to our goal of 300 subs. Huzzah. And as soon as I can remember how to look at my stuff, here we go. Extreme Dragon, Orange Gaming, Treekin, Xeon, Fate Shadow, and Daquan Mayo. Thank you so much for subscribing. And other than that, what do we got in store for everyone tonight, Kal?
Well, today we are talking about UFOs. Not a sponsor, by the way, and not the beer. We're talking about actual UFOs or aliens and stuff like that. So I'm excited. Last year we had the Go special. We had a lot of people. I guess we have less people who talk about UFOs and stuff like that, but you know, we'll see how it goes. And I do have a story myself, and I think you have a few, and maybe Kimber might have. But we do have one caller. I'm trying to get in touch with them now, see if they can get on. But yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and if you're watching this and you yourself have a UFO experience, feel free to say something in the chat, and we'll get you in here to talk about it. This is a call-in show, so or hey, maybe you yourself don't think UFOs exist, and you want to talk about that. That could be fun. Let us know. I am on the opposite side. I think the truth is out there somewhere.
I believe in it too, because how can we be the only intelligent life out there? You know, especially in a universe that's so big and vast, you know, I doubt that we could be the only intelligent life forms out there.
And they're finding, like, they keep saying, oh, we found another Earth-like planet. And they're like, and they're looking for something that would sustain our life, but that's just assuming it's another carbon-based life form. You know what I mean? Like, it could be anything.
Right. And I feel like, I don't know, like, so it would take a huge imagination to make up things that we like see in all these stories. It has to be based off some truth, you know, some of these stories that people make up or tell us. I shouldn't say make up, but that they tell us in such detail. And there are people like, I know I used to watch those shows. The reason why we kind of did the shows, because you know, we were talking about those shows like Paranormal Fact and Faked and all those kind of shows. And they use like lie detector tests as well as like not just lie detector, a more advanced thing that the FBI uses. Because one of the lead investigators is an FBI guy, and you know the people who were lying about investigation about like experiences got called out on it. Like the machine picked it up, like that they had a detection of like not like in complete veracity and stuff, but like people who all their stories were completely true. So or at least the machine picked it up as completely true. There's no deception.
Yeah, the one flaw in the lie detecting machine, which by the way was invented by the inventor of Wonder Woman. So find the connection there. Hey, Will, welcome to the chat. If you yourself, because everything's based on perception, you know what I mean? Like, if me and you watch the same movie, we're both going to see different things. We're going to experience it differently. So when someone tells what they think is the truth on the lie detector test, it's not going to spike out because...
Oh no, but this isn't a lie detector. It's not a polygraph. This is a different machine used by the FBI on like based on like their body temperature and all these different biometrics. It's like a huge biometric thing that the FBI uses. That it's not really, I know what you're talking about. Where you think like like let's say like, is your name like Tom? Like you think the question they ask you is like, can you fly? But you're thinking in your head, is my name Tom? Yes, 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 yes. The polygraph would probably pick that up as true if you said yes to flying, But the test, the biometric test that the FBI does is completely different, where it uses like body temperature and facial recognition and all these kind of little idiosyncrasies and things like that or intricacies and all that kind of stuff that it picks up if there's any deception kind of thing.
I just think there has to be some sort of room for error when like perception is the whole like if I hit a car but I think the other car hit me, you know what I mean? It's not going to change my body temperature and stuff. I thought
just the way you looked up to the right there, to your right, would have been picked up by the machine that you're thinking about something to make up. Do you understand? Like it
right, but they wouldn't be making it up because they think it happened. Like if I saw a weather balloon and I thought it was a UFO and I said it was a UFO, I saw that UFO.
I guess, but like in all the details of the story, so that like it's not just like tell us every single detail what you saw, and like
okay,
and then like, okay, I saw a silver machine and it was like so and so and so, like all that,
But another point to what you're trying to say with like how many people can lie about the same sighting, you know what I mean? Like is it mass hysteria or mass delusions? But like the first sighting, and this is like if you're not talking about like ancient alien theory, because then anything recorded in history could possibly be a UFO. But a fiery disc was recorded in ancient Egypt the year 1440 BC. And it was a fiery disc in the sky, and that's essentially what we usually think of as a UFO, is a disc. Like
now, when you say ancient Egypt, like how old? Like you're talking about like the time of pharaohs and stuff?
Yeah, 1440 BC.
Oh, BC. Okay. So do you think people confuse that as like Ra or something, like going across the sky?
I mean, ancient alien theorists definitely do that because they're like they said that he rode a chariot that will cross the sky. But what else is like a chariot? A UFO.
Right.
So I mean, is that possible? I maybe, I guess. I wasn't there. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you never know with these things because you could probably think you see things, but I mean, like that, who knows? No one's there to verify it or anything like that. So, like you said, it could have been a UFO and was mistaken as the sun god. Because like we'd be like right now we think like, oh, maybe it was a guidance missile that's being mistaken for a UFO, but back then it could have been UFO mistaken for a god. You know what I mean? Like how perception has changed.
Well, even in Christian lore, there's these angels called thrones, and literally they're just discs of fire, and that's another ancient alien thing. Is like, well, where did this idea come from? They had to have seen it. I think there's even I know there's some like ancient paintings where there's just a disc in the middle of the sky for no reason, and people are like, well, yeah, it's a UFO. Like somebody's recording their sighting. There'd be no other reason for it. It's not like during like surrealist era or whatever, you know what I mean?
Right. But then as far as back as that, there have been hoaxes as well. People, there could always have been a prankster all the way back then that could just, how they have those Chinese lanterns that you light up and they go flying in the sky, by using the heat induction that causes the paper to go up in the air. And it's that simple. Basically, same thing as a hot air balloon. If that went awry, that could just lit that paper lantern on fire, looking like a thing in the sky. And that technology existed back then too. You know what I mean? So even back then they could have had like pranksters or any kind of misconception as well.
Yeah, I agree. And like you do have natural events like fog gas is one of the explanations for like will-o-wisps being seen back in the day, and another like source of light that could be mistaken as a landed UFO or whatever. But why don't we get into some sightings? You want to start off with yours, Kal?
Yeah, so mine's basic. Well, I have one is a story that I've been told from when I was in elementary school. And then I could give another one for mine later if you want. But the experience that I've been told is that we had like teachers' aides back when we were in elementary school. And one of my teachers' aides always used to say she saw an alien in town. And we always used to make fun of her. But then like her story was basically one night she saw people outside her window, and she was she wasn't a child, but she was like in the, I guess, going into high school age, maybe high school or freshman year of high school age. And she saw all these people outside her window, like her living room window, and she walked outside and they're all looking up in the sky, and they saw a silver disc, and it was just floating in one spot. And then it went to the left, and then went to the right, and then just zoomed away. And you hear a lot of those stories, right? So you hear a lot of stories, but like this is probably what, the early 70s, maybe late 60s, early 70s. I mean, there was technology back then that could mimic something like that, but maybe not that fast, and like not that. I don't know. The way she said it moved rather fast. She didn't see any light. She just saw a silver reflection because it was around the time that it was becoming nighttime. So it was like enough that sunlight that you could see in the sky, but it wasn't dark. You know what I mean? So that's what she was saying. I don't know if we always made fun of her for that, but now that I'm like getting older and watching all these things and those shows like I said, Paranormal Fact or Fake and all that, I started believing these things more. And maybe she did see it. And she said everyone in her street saw it, and even they called the police and stuff. And the police, when the time they got there, it wasn't there anymore. But, it was enough that they had to call the cops about it. So I don't know. Oh, thank you, Kimber. Big Time Gaming put me onto these because I'm always in front of a monitor. So these are to help block the blue light. But yeah, so, I mean, I don't know, like that. Like if you saw something like to a degree that you think you saw, you'd probably that you thought was dangerous, you'd probably call the police. You wouldn't just call the police for no reason. I would think most people wouldn't just call. I mean, there are people who call the police when they get like bad food at Taco Bell or something, which is
they're out of chicken nuggets.
Yeah, I know exactly. So like I don't know, to the degree of all these people calling the police like on her street or her block or whatever. I think that's kind of serious. I think that's kind of credible. What reason does she have to lie to us? Like I don't know.
Yeah. And that's another like important aspect of like figuring out what's a UFO and what not, and like trying to like, okay, was it a plane? Was it a helicopter? One of the big ones is like movement that doesn't make sense or doesn't seem possible. So even an idea like that 40 years ago, 50 years ago, you know what I mean, is relatively new. They wouldn't, you know what I mean? So that kind of gives me credence to her story, because that's not like anyone can go on YouTube and look through every video and be like, oh, that's fake. That's good. They didn't, but no one knew back then how to like debunk it in the 70s. You know what I mean? So it's kind of interesting that they told you this part in the story that adds up to things that we look for today.
I also had to switch my glasses because these are the ones that probably go better with the theme for this. I don't usually wear these because like for stuff on Fortnite, I need to know the colors of things. So these kind of change the color. So I can't really tell the colors of like, on legendary guns and stuff like that. You could tell, but it takes a second. But the reason why it would be interesting to ask everyone's account who was there, or several various accounts, and see how much it connects to their story without, it being influenced by someone. Like, I don't want to have my teacher's aide there in the same room as another person who was there. I want to hear them individually tell their story and see how much meshes together.
Yeah, I mean, that's important. But again, like there's always three sides to a story, and it's your version, my version, and the truth. So it would be interesting to see what factors actually do line up amongst stories.
Right. So would you like to share one of your own? And then I can come back to mine later, or does Kimber have one that she'd like to share?
Do you want to share yours now, Kimber?
I have two.
You can do yours. I want to stretch my legs real quick.
Okay. Well, it won't be super long-winded, so.
Well, pace yourself. Tell it like Christopher Walken would.
Spooky appropriate shirt. Hey, buddy.
Wow, look at this shirt. Awesome.
So, yeah, the first one I saw with Tom, and it might, he'll remember it when I start talking about it, but we lived in upstate New York in the Catskills, and it's actually like a hotbed of UFO activity in the area we were in. And we were on our porch. It was a really clear night, and we saw these 3 lights that were all in a row spaced out. Yeah. And then underneath the lights, we saw this like other one that was like a pendulum going like this underneath it, like disconnected from the other lights. And it was the weirdest thing we ever saw.
Yeah.
See, now he remembers it. It was like 3 in the morning or something too, and we weren't anywhere near where we would have seen something like that happening. And
no, because we with the hotbed she's talking about is called Pine Bush, New York, and it's a bunch of like high they do a UFO festival every year.
We went one time,
and we were probably like what 40 minutes from that.
Yeah.
But like as far as like anything else, like airports or whatever, that's like an hour away, like nothing. And we get the occasional helicopter up there, not like down here.
Yeah, this not like this. And it's really clear out there because there's not a lot of like light pollution because we were way in the woods. And they kind of just disappeared, if I recall.
Yeah, it was like it was almost like, you know how when you rub your eyes you see spots and then they kind of just fade away. It's kind of like they just faded away against the, like, that's exactly, because like that's I was almost like, did I imagine it? Like, but
we watched it for like a good 10 minutes.
Yeah, it was there for a while,
and it was just we'd never seen like a pendulum type movement going on, because it was like a series of 3 lights and then like a.
I'd be curious to look into anyone that has had a similar experience. We never did.
I did when I had my other UFO sighting, and I was with about 6 or 7 people.
This is a good story.
Florida.
Ask about the first one first. So did you was it a triangle shape?
No, they were in like a straight line, the top 3, and then the bottom one seemed like it was disconnected. That was the one that was only really moving back and forth.
Okay, and it wasn't like a crane or anything in the distance, right? Like, because you know, like a lot of
and there's only trees up there. You know what I mean? There's no buildings, no crane there,
or a drone or anything. Because you know, a lot of these paranormal fake, they have the exact lights, like 3 lights, and then they turn off because the person just presses the button and the lights turn off.
It was way too high in the sky.
When we're telling you 3 lights, think like Orion's belt. Like that's how the spacing was. That's how big they were. So a drone, no. Maybe if it was 3 drones like connected by a rod.
I think he's like mostly talking about the one underneath.
No, it was too perfect.
It was weird. Like it was weird enough for us to both be watching it and being like, what the hell is that thing? I'd never seen it
for real. Like, we're like, is this?
That's crazy. Should have filmed it. That'd been awesome.
Yeah,
that's the thing, though. By the time we would have grabbed our phones and stuff, it would have probably been.
But yeah, the other UFO experience I had was completely different from this one too. And I was with about 5 or 6 people at a party in Florida, and a lot of my friends. I wish my brother was here because he's like the king of UFO sightings. He's seen a lot of the triangular shaped ones down in Florida, which I never personally have. But I was at a party and we lived on this lake and in this like townhouse on the lake, and we were outside smoking cigarettes and chilling. And all of a sudden, like all of us go quiet because this cigar-shaped UFO that was very close to us kind of seemed to emerge from the lake, which I've never heard of anything like that before, which is interesting because I did research stuff like this later, and it is something that other people have seen with water being connected to UFOs and UFOs coming out of water, but I had never heard of something like that before. And the weirdest thing about it is it was really close to us, but there was no noise at all whatsoever.
Wow. So, and like something comes out of the water, no noise, and cigar shaped, and like how does it come and where does it go? Like what happens after like it comes out?
It just goes like up, man. Like it was weird. It's just kind of like slow movement up, and then similar type of situation that with the first one that I saw with Tom, where it seems to kind of like not like blink, fade out, but like fade, disappear from vision. And that one was really close to us, and it came out of the lake that we lived on.
I wish I want to see all this kind of stuff that happened. Like this happened to me, but like, and you know what? They always say Florida is like another hotbed. A lot of stories come out of Florida for UFOs and stuff like that. So, I mean, like, I'm not surprised that you didn't have more when you were younger. Like all this kind of stuff is like there's a lot of the stories that I hear, either that or Texas, and obviously in other places in the desert in like Nevada. Those are like the 3 places that you see the most UFOs, at least in America, from what I hear. That's crazy though. I wish I witnessed stuff like that. My other story is not as good. It was we were flying to New Orleans, and I had the window seat. I looked and I saw a silver thing right out, and then it just zoomed away. And I don't know if it was like the light hitting the window in a certain way, and then like it just like because it went off in a straight direction like really fast. So I don't know if that was what that was, but it was silver. A light wouldn't be like, the light would be like kind of whitish, light silver. This was like a dark silver, like, you know, like a Coke, under the bottom of a Coke can or something, that color. So I don't know if it would be light reflecting, but it was just there for a second, then it just went, like, you know, if the plane turned or something, then you could expect like light refraction to like move. But like, it was just, we're just going, you know, normal and just zoomed away. So I don't know what that was. And, you know, that was over, like, it wasn't really a desert, a swampy area. So I don't know what it could have been, but could have been one of those things that you saw, like that came out of the water, because there's a lot of swamp area and stuff like that. So
yeah, that was the weirdest part for me. And the lack of sound, like, was really ominous to me, because it didn't seem like it was like trying to move fast at all. It almost seemed like it was trying to sneak. You know what I'm saying? Like, there was something sneaky about it. No noise, kind of slowly, ominously moving, like nothing to see here type thing. But all of us at the same time, like, turned and were staring at this thing. And there were so many of us, it's really hard for anyone to be like, oh, well, you know, you don't know what you saw. It's like, well, 6 of us saw it, so.
Yeah. Oh, man, like, that is, see, those are, like, prime stories when you have several witnesses, like I said, like, about my teacher's aide who saw, everyone on her street or her block saw it. And, like, oh, man, like, just to get you guys all in a different room to explain the story from, like, different perspectives and see if how much of it, like, you know, is the similar, like, that's like proof positive right there, in my opinion. Like, that's good evidence, you know?
Yeah, and especially to, like, see something that's completely not what you've heard people describe a UFO experience to be like, and then to do research and realize that there are other people that have had this experience, that's creepy too. Because, like, I literally, like, drew a sketch of what I saw. It wasn't like the, you know, people think of, like, a little disc and then, like, a glass like top or something. It wasn't like that at all. It was like a tube, like a cigar shaped tube type thing. And I wasn't familiar with that at all until I did research on what we saw.
That's really interesting. If you know anything about Ingrid White and like the Men in Black and stuff, one of the first Ingrid White sightings was in front of a cigar shaped UFO that was like in the middle of the road, still not making any sound. So.
Yeah, and the not making, it was bizarre. Because you would expect, I don't know, I feel like sci-fi gets it in your head that it's going to have like some sort of weird like theremin type sound or something, like, but there was no sound. There was a complete and utter suction of sound, a lack of sound, and even from my friends, a lack of sound, because there was just this weird, calm, stunned silence all around.
I remembered another one with you.
Oh, yeah?
Do you remember when we were driving from Liberty to Jeffersonville and there's that long stretch of road and then there was that weird orange ball?
Yes, I do.
And like we were following it and it just dipped out. Like,
yeah. Tom was going to get us into a car accident because he was watching this weird board in the sky instead of driving the car.
Let's leave that part out. But like at a certain point I was like, all right, instead of going where we need to go,
Let's go follow them.
I might turn down a road and see where it heads, but it just dipped out. It was like either it flew off or I didn't see it.
I don't want to have any closer of an encounter than I had. Like I said, I do wish Blake was here because my brother literally is all into conspiracies and cryptids and stuff like this, and he always has his eyes on the skies, and he has like 10 UFO stories, but he's also shy.
Speaking of little cryptids, look who just wandered in.
Yeah. Hey, Mavis.
But
where's Leo? Where's Van Gogh?
She's in the room. Yeah.
Otherwise, we wouldn't be hearing anything because they'd be wrestling.
She is also quiet. But I'll let you guys get back to it.
Well, thanks for stopping by, Kimber.
Of course.
I hope to see you soon.
I live here.
Okay.
Thanks, Kimber.
No problem. I'll be watching.
Speaking of 10, we have about 10 people in the chat. So if you guys, anybody wants to call in and have any good stories, let us know. If you have, I know Sky's over there in the chat. Sky, would you like to call in? Let us know. We'll drop the link for you. Hey, Arrington, if you have any stories and want to call in, let us know as well.
Hey, welcome.
That is another thing I was going to say is like one time we were in Vegas, driving from California to Vegas, and we were really low on gas. So it was nighttime. It's, there's no streetlights in the desert. It's kind of like just a dark road. And you got to use your headlights. And we're running low on gas. So we're getting nervous. We're like, let's take the first exit, whatever we see. And so we take the first exit. We head over and we're going deeper and deeper into the desert. We're like, where are we going? And finally, like, out of nowhere appears like a military base. And there's like armed guards, armed soldiers in uniform and all that. They're like, "Where are you guys going?" We're like, "We're just looking for a gas station. We're lost, we're from California heading to Vegas." And they're like, "Okay, well, here, you want to go this, and this." They told us the thing, but it was completely dark until like the lights came on. It was it was just like a guard tower, so it was very what do you call it, dimly lit. But then like when we drove up, and spotlights turned on. So it makes me wonder. I figured, wouldn't it have to be well lit there? I don't know. Like the fact that it just surprised you with like giant lights kind of scary. And it was just like, it was like my friend's mom and like and like 4 kids in the car, because I was going into high school, I think, at that time, or college. So I was very young at the time. Well, not that young, but maybe 16, 17. But yeah, so that was interesting. Like you wonder about all these military bases that exist in the desert and stuff, and what's going on there. Yeah. Speaking of military bases, someone who bounced around from military bases is Sky Inc., who's I think about to call in. So that was a pretty good segue as well.
I was born off a military base.
Oh yeah. Tom has dual citizenship, in case you didn't know.
So I can't be an alien. Haha, they tried to get me.
Fun fact. All right, so you gotta click that link and hopefully it'll work if you're ready to go. Arrington or Will, if you have a... Yeah. I feel like the ghost stories, people have a lot of connection to the ghosts. A lot of people who have experienced death and stuff like that we had, that we talked to last year. A lot. Hey, Randall, how are you? No problem. I know you're catching some dinner. You told me. A lot of people like to hear these. I know a lot of people who... they're here. My friends of mine are here that are just they love hearing this cryptid talk. They love this kind of stuff. They don't really have any stories to tell, but they just love hearing the stories and all that. So they're the ones who texted me that day when you were talking to me online. They're like, "Oh, when is the Encrypted coming back? Because we missed that show." And I'm like, "Oh, I don't know. We're all busy this season, so maybe we went to the special." And they were excited to hear that we were doing the special. But they love this kind of talk, and I know. Sidewalk Close wants to get us on to talk about cryptids as well, so that would be a good thing, to tie into this show. Eventually, when we come back, we should come back for another season. Because we have I have the whole wheel of weird and stuff that people want to see, mermaids and all that kind of stuff.
I also just came off of a move, and it's just
I know. I told people that a new job and everything. It's a lot going on. So
I think
obviously next year we'll be more prepared. Hey, Sky, you here?
Well,
I heard us.
I like that he has a space-themed background.
Is he talking? I don't hear you, Sky, if you're talking. Oh, yeah, we did Ghost last season, Will.
We can do Ghost again another time now. Maybe rotate.
Yeah, it's a very popular topic. Maybe next year we could do Ghost/demons or something, so we can ask the demon aspect, because I had some good stories that people told us.
Can you hear me?
About demons.
Yep.
There he is.
Sorry, I had to switch my mic.
No worries. Welcome to the show, Sky. How are you?
I am good. How art thou?
Thou as really good.
More Krampus. Kimber says more Krampus.
So, what do you got for us, Sky?
I mean, as I said in the chat, it's kind of boring, but Kal was insistent upon me showing up. So I had to stop my Fortnite in order to show up. Thank you, Kal. I appreciate you. But yeah, so...
Should we play without me anyway?
I had to finish up my challenges. But yeah, so basically what happened was about 3 years ago, Frey and I were going to this gas station, locally here, it's called Wawa. And we was going there to, I think we was getting some food or something. I can't remember. We were standing outside, and we both happened to look up at the same time. We saw this light in the sky, and I didn't think much of it because, stars and planes or whatever. But we kind of stared at it, and the only reason we did because it was stationary. Now, it was extremely high up, so we really couldn't tell what was going on and everything. But I remember that the lights distinctly were blue and white, and I'd never seen blue and white together in any kind of an aircraft. But I figured I don't know anything about aircraft, so I wasn't about to question it. But it was stationary, and I thought that was odd. So we both kind of stared at it. Then all of a sudden, it started to spiral like vertically, and then it just disappeared. And Frey and I were kind of looking at it and was like, okay, what in the world is going on here? Like, I've never seen an aircraft do that before, especially the spiral movement that it was doing. And yeah, that was like it. We didn't hear any reports or anything. I mean, I checked, the internet and the news and everything, just to see if anybody had seen what we saw and had made reports of it, maybe if it was in a different area or whatever, but we couldn't see anything, or I couldn't find anything. So to this day, we really don't know what it was, but we both, are kind of suspicious of what it could have been. Versus, like I said, what we know it could have been and everything, or what we know it to be. I would, of course, garner to say that it might have been something extraterrestrial, but I didn't have enough evidence to go off of. It was just based off of what I saw and what I know of flight patterns, and that's definitely not a flight pattern that I know of. And it was way too high up to be a balloon or anything else like that, or a drone or something. So I'm not too sure about a drone's flight patterns, what it is capable of and what it's not capable of. But at that point in time, drones weren't like really as popular as they are now. So I wouldn't even thought, my first initial reaction wouldn't have been, oh my gosh, it might have been a drone. I immediately jumped to the conclusion that it might have been a UFO. But again, like I said, I didn't see any reports about it. I only saw it the one time, and that was literally the only experience I've ever had with seeing something of that magnitude.
Well, that's more than a lot of people have seen, so that's cool. I thought it was a really good story, and so did Kimber in the chat. She didn't think it was boring at all.
I wanted it to be like more like, I got abducted and, something like crazy like that went down. But unfortunately, I couldn't give you guys that story. I mean, I could have, but it would have been a lie. So, I mean, I don't know.
We're true finders here on enCRYPTID, so we appreciate.
I mean, I guess I could tell you guys about the time that I first encountered Kal. That was extraterrestrial. He's here right now, so I don't want to talk about him in front of his face. That would be awkward. But yeah, I mean, I definitely believe in extraterrestrial life. I just feel like we are such a primitive species that they're never going to fully come out and just say, "Hey, here we are," because we're late to the party. We're like really. I feel like there's a lot of species out there that are way more advanced than we are, and they're never going to reveal themselves either out of fear or out of the fact that they're just like studying us to see exactly how far we'll be able to make it. Like I have this feeling that they have a bet going on in how long the Earth is actually going to survive. Like at one point in time, are we going to wipe ourselves out of the species? And laughing at us, they have bets going on, galactic bet. And we're the butt of the joke and everything, don't even realize it and stuff. And, a lot of people like to blame it on, the fact that we're, systematically killing our Earth. And I don't feel like that's the main reason. I think it's because of the fact that we're systematically killing each other and we can't figure out how to get along. So it's like, I don't know. I think collectively as a species, if you were on another planet and you're looking at a planet like Earth, you're probably wondering and scratching your head, why are they so focused on the differences of skin color and regions and whatever the case may be?
That's a good point. I think the irony in that is that the only thing that would get everyone on Earth to throw away their like prejudices and stuff like that is if we had a common enemy like an invaded like an invasion or something. I wouldn't want that.
I don't even think that would be enough. I think as a species, we're just not.
If that happens, it's going to happen in real life.
I just don't feel like we are mentally developed enough to be able to handle a situation like that, for one. And number two, even if it was to happen, and like you were saying, we had a common enemy, they were all attacking the Earth for its natural resources. And the fact that Earth is one of the few planets that we've discovered that's in the Goldilocks zone, they would say, oh yeah, this is the perfect planet to take over. Let's do it. I still feel like there's going to be certain humans on Earth that are either going to, one, try to side with the aliens in order to be able to preserve their own life, or two, at the very least, just take take that time amidst all that chaos just to be able to take advantage of one another, to be able to go and loot and all that stuff, which doesn't make any sense. Because I have a feeling like even if the apocalypse was coming to Earth, that's the first thing a lot of people that are simple-minded is going to do. They're going to try to either you see it all the time, and they depict it all the time. All these apocalyptic shows where literally everything is falling apart for humanity, and you still have these factions that rise up because they either want to bully or whatever. And one could argue and say, oh, it's for survival. But at the end of the day, if you only have 750 humans left on Earth, why in the world are you trying to kill off everybody just to be able to make sure that you have the most beans in the region? Makes no sense whatsoever, but survival of the fittest and all that good stuff. And I guess, again, it goes down to our primitive nature. And I don't think until we hit that leap in evolution, in which we don't think that way anymore, or we don't have that the engraved flight or fight response and everything that's just totally engraved within our DNA. I feel like once we evolve past that, then we might be able to actually collectively come together as a species and help each other the way that we're supposed to. But who knows how long it'll take? And between now and then, who's to say that we won't wipe each other off the planet because of a simple disagreement? So I don't know. Like I said, in my opinion, I feel like aliens do exist. I just feel like they're not revealing themselves for a plethora of reasons.
How do you feel about the theory that aliens, quote unquote, are not extraterrestrial but interdimensional? Like their ships don't bring them to another planet, but instead another dimension, which would be a lot easier if you had the technology.
Okay, well, interdimensional travel has been something that people, especially science fiction enthusiasts, have been focusing on for quite a long time. And I feel like they hit on a lot of good points, especially when it comes to explaining a lot of different things that happens throughout our world and the galaxy or the universe in and of itself. I feel like if that is the case, and I had an interesting theory about it, I feel like if we met aliens that were interdimensional travelers, I feel like they would be an advanced version of human beings here. Like this is what we could be in this other dimension in which for whatever reason, the human species evolved in a different way, a very different way than we did here in this dimension. This is what we're capable of, and this is what we would be able to do. The human mind is fascinating, and all the things that it is capable of. I mean that whole nonsense about only being able to use 10% of your brain, and no, we're always using 100% of our brain. But I feel as though we don't know how to use our brain to the fullest capacity. And I felt like if we was able to unlock that, we'd be able to reach things and do things that we never thought possible, i.e., self-healing. And it's been proven you can heal yourself just with thought. And I feel like if that's the case, and we were just to be able to slightly tap, I mean, you can imagine if we were able to, I mean, that's why, things like pseudo drugs exist and everything, because they're trying to show you that the power of the mind can heal. So if that's like one facet of what our mind is capable of, you can imagine everything else we'd be capable of. So I feel like if interdimensional travel was a thing and we could do it and, tap into it, I feel like the greatest revelation would be that these are essentially, we would call them aliens because they look greatly different, but essentially they are humans. They have existed on Earth and have always existed on Earth. But because of the fact that they're able to travel through dimensions, they're in another higher plane of existence, in another dimension in which this Earth is far more advanced and far more capable than we are as a species right now. And for them, it's more or less either a learning curve for them to travel over to this dimension and see how we're doing, to check up on us, or whatever the case may be. Maybe even take some of us over to their dimension just to see exactly how it is that things got developed over there. It would explain a lot of these odd disappearances and everything like that, because they have been over there. I mean, whether they select them because they feel like there's something special about them, or whether they just, for shites and giggles, they say, hey, let's go over there and find somebody and then take them over. I don't know, but I feel like that would be the case. So to answer your question, yes, I do believe in that.
Well, where I was going with that, and there's another interesting theory, which I feel like is less believable, but I think could be an alternate like story for. I think it could be interpreted as interdimensional, and that's the Hollow Earth story, the theory, where, like you say, there are human-like people with very extended features and stuff like that. That there's a portal or the entries in the North Pole or whatever. But I see that could be, especially with like what we know about like magnetism of the Earth and how that's affected up there, or how that pretty much, you know, dictates it. Could definitely be some kind of used as like a power source, and that could be like interdimensional. I don't know. I'm grasping at straws. I have no idea. But
I mean, yeah, I totally agree with you on that one. I mean, you know, I think all of us at this point in time are grasping at straws. We could speculate all day about what it could be or what, you know, could possibly happen. But until we have that hard evidence, we will never know, unfortunately. And I don't think that in this generation or anytime soon that we ever will. Mainly due to the fact that, again, I don't think humanity is ready. Not at this point in time. I feel like if we were able to get a definitive answer about extraterrestrial life or aliens, if you will, and process exactly how they exist and where they came from and all that good stuff, again, at this point in time right now, I don't think that it would be the best idea for any of that to be revealed to us. Not right now, anyway.
No, I think a lot of people are too trigger happy right now. Kal, you want to weigh in on any of this?
Well, that whole thing about other dimensions and stuff like that, and you're like, how would they choose and pick and choose? Well, I could say like a massive event, like a nuclear bomb goes off, and it shoots little seeds of evil into the world, into this dimension, one of which name maybe is a palindrome. I don't know. And that it makes it maybe like an alien bug that goes into a mother that later has a daughter that could, you know, be a prom queen or something, and, you know, all that kind of stuff. That's what I think might happen. You know, I don't know. What do you guys think?
Well, I think you remember
maybe
pieces of the third season of Twin Peaks really well.
Yeah, it can happen somewhere like that. Twin Peaks.
That was literally just
or dual spires, maybe.
Yeah, that's a whole other thing. But I like, that's where, like, because you bring up Twin Peaks, and there's actually like woods are seen as like another like a place to cross the veil. You see it in a lot of like old world rituals that like woods are necessary to do things because of your connection to nature and stuff like that. But a lot of like UFO stories happen in the woods, and at the same time, a lot of people report missing time in the woods, which is another thing connected to UFOs. Or they could just be walking, not even see a UFO, and then be like, it's an hour later, and they're like, what happened? So I definitely think, what was that?
I'm sorry, I was just gonna say that could also be because like they're discombobulated as well. You know, from a scientist's point, they're like, you lose track of time. You know, even like today when I was driving to school, I was thinking like of something for a split second, then like I was like further in my trip. Like I'm like, oh wait, how did I get from like the toll to like my exit ramp? Like, you know, like I don't remember that drive.
I could tell you why. I could tell you why. So monkeys are able to, you know, when they're swinging from vines,
right?
Mm-hmm.
They can eat bananas. They can talk to another monkey. They can. Their motor functions are like on a separate like drive essentially, and when we're driving, the same part of our brain that glows when they do the vine stuff, like lights up, and because your brain has already seen this drive so many times, you're essentially on autopilot, and it's letting your brain's letting you multitask while it goes the direction it knows you need to go. That's why whenever you drive somewhere, it always seems shorter to come back. That's why my thing with the woods is it because every tree looks the same? You know what I mean? Like, but like, it's weird because it's not like you've taken that. Well, I mean, some people walk through the woods quite often and take the same path, but for the people who get lost, you know what I mean? I don't know how that works.
And I'm not to talk too much or harp on Twin Peaks too much, but there was in the books like that, you know, I don't know if you guys got to the books, like those files that I was telling you about, the Lost, all that. Like there is a lot of talk about UFOs and aliens in the whole beginning of those books, because that's about that region. Like it goes from like Lewis and Clark to like I guess the Nixon era, Watergate, and during the whole prior Nixon, all that, it's a lot of UFO stuff and Area 51 and all that kind of stuff, Los Alamos and all that kind of stuff, and how like Douglas Milford, who ends up being the editor in chief of whatever the Twin Peaks Gazette, whatever it's called, he was part of the that like I think I told you before, he was part of the FBI or whatever agency that like looked into this stuff, and he saw Nixon took him and I think one famous actor, I forgot, Jackie Gleason or something maybe, and took him into like a bunker and showed him a UFO there, and like so it can be inspired from fact as well as fiction, but there's like I said, there might be some truth to some of this stuff because they obviously know more about about the stuff. The government obviously knows more about stuff than we do. They hide stuff from us to not cause that shock and panic. Because like Sky said, what would happen when stuff like this gets revealed? You probably had that fight or flight, and everyone wants to,
religion
so, yeah, exactly.
would be nothing.
So right.
People would be freaking out because everything they've been told their whole lives is out the window.
Like even when like a hurricane or a storm comes up, people start looting and all that. Can you imagine aliens and stuff like that? That's stuff that we can't even comprehend. Like a lot of
I mean, the first thing we're going to think as the species is what can they do for us, because that's human nature.
Quick question though for the both of you guys: out of every group on the face of this planet, if it was discovered that alien life existed, who do you think would freak out the most?
Like a certain sect of religion, or like a certain government, like
anything, religion, government, whatever. Who do you think?
I don't think the church would freak out. Like I don't think the Vatican's gonna, because the Pope right now is kind of super cool and very like their science department for the Vatican is look into it. They actually look for UFOs more than anyone else. But at the same time, they're also saying that, yeah, because God did this in this time, he never said he only created us. Like the Vatican actually has a cool stance on UFOs. But I think believers who, you know what I mean? I think there would be too much of a culture shock. As far as government agencies, I don't know. I think there's a few public heads who use religion to get where they are. Mainly the evangelical church in America. So I don't know how that would translate, because people would be afraid of losing their lobbyist money and stuff like that. It would fall apart. This seems pretty much everywhere.
Kal,
what do you think, Kal?
I don't know. I can't say anything without being politically incorrect, so I'm not gonna say anything. I just think government agencies would probably overreact or like want to exploit them.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I think. But there's probably groups of people who are gun happy that probably want to go out and hunt them and collect them as trophies and stuff like that. You know what I mean? In that sense. But when it comes to the government agency, they probably want to find a way to exploit them.
What do you think, Scott?
What do you think?
In my opinion, I feel like, although you do bring a very valid point to the table, I feel like the religious sect would probably freak out the most. And the only reason is because when you shape your entire life around one belief, and most of those beliefs, any religion that you look into around the world, they're usually their religious focus is on oneself. And by that, I mean that human beings were created as these special beings by somebody or something. And when you discredit that by bringing in a wholly another species as intelligent as humans, if not more so, then I think that it starts to garner the question of, well, why, for one? And number two, is our creator, whomever it is that you believe in, has our creator forsaken us in some way? You're forced to believe through religion that the human species is the dominant race, that we are special in our own way, that the universe pretty much revolves around us, that there's nowhere else in the universe that anything else exists and can't exist, because God or whomever you believed in focused solely on us as human beings, and that is it. And when that is thrown out of the window and you realize that not only are there other species, but there's other species that are probably stronger than us, faster than us, smarter than us, in so many different ways. And then all of a sudden we go from the top of the food chain to the bottom of the food chain. So again, like I said, in my opinion, I feel like those who will strongly believe in their religion, no matter what religion it is, I feel like they would probably freak out the most.
To that point, can I say something? To that point, who's not to say that some of them are going to believe that that is the higher power that created them?
There may be. There may be some who will, and the thing is, you would have to force yourself to believe, because there are some out there who do believe in the higher power to be aliens, to be extraterrestrial from another planet somewhere, and for those people, they might they might love it, but then you start to think, okay, well, if that's the case, what will they do? And what by that I mean, again, going back to our original topic of, if they were to land here and let's say they were trying to take over, again, it goes into a question of, will our species collectively come together? Because if you have this sect who decides that they want to either join them out of fear or join them because they want to worship them, then they're going to betray their species, the humankind, because they honestly feel like these are gods. In their eyes, these are gods. And you're supposed to do exactly what they say. At the very least, protect yourself. So it's not a win-win situation for us. And that's why I said, again, going off of what I said before, we're not ready. Period.
Yeah, you see that in all types of movies too, that where people worshiping them or not. You look at StarCraft, right? StarCraft, they thought the gods were, the aliens too, right? Or something like that. So. Not StarCraft, was that Stargate?
Yeah, it's all over pop culture. The idea, it started with Chariots of Fire or Chariots in the Sky, that pantheons of gods, which make more sense because now it's not just one dude. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, this ship full of aliens showed up. You know what I mean? That makes more sense. But I mean, there is I know Sky touched on it, but there are religions that do incorporate space and extraterrestrials into their religion. Spanish dude in the chat, and if you don't know Spanish dude, go check his channel out. And he helped us get where we are today with plus 300 followers. Thanks again, Spanish. But he brings up Scientology, which is all about aliens. Now, granted, we know this is a religion made by a science fiction novel, so I don't know if it really. I'm not going to say it's not religion, but people worship it. But then you have Mormons too, who think when you die, you get your own planet. So it's interesting.
It is very interesting, and I think that that's probably it's fun to speculate on exactly what would happen if something like this were to happen, because. Again, it's fun because we're in the safety and the comforts of our own mind and debate and all that good stuff. And that's it. And we don't know if this will ever come true in our lifetime or in the next lifetime or within the next 1,000 years or so. We may be stuck in our own little pocket of the universe for all eternity. We don't know. But if it were to come in which, aliens were to reveal themselves in some way, how would react? I think scientists, as of right now, are looking. They would still classify microbacteria as aliens, or microorganisms. As aliens. So if we were to go to Mars or Venus or whomever, and we find these microorganisms, to them, these are considered aliens. Because they are not of Earth and everything. And even though they're still in our same galaxy, it's still, the same thing for them. So for me, I really do, I'm really excited personally at the idea of meeting an alien, but at the same time, also really scared because I don't know exactly, who knows what they would want. And as Kal was saying before, with the government being involved, if it has already happened and the government has found proof of life outside of the Earth, what are they doing? Are they using it to, advance technology? Did aliens invent the iPhones and all that good stuff? You don't know. Technology has been jumping in spades here lately. For the past 20 years now, we have been accomplishing a lot of feats. A lot of people don't realize it because they live in the comfort of what they know: computers, cell phones, video cameras, all that good stuff and everything. But when you actually look and you realize the technology that we have and where we were 20 years ago, and then where we are now, it's mind-boggling.
Oh yeah,
to see the stuff that we've accomplished. And now we're opening up another Hadron Collider, and this one even bigger. So it's like, we're accomplishing a lot of things in a very fast pace. And this is the fastest that we have ever developed technology-wise in all of humanity, in all of humanity's history. And it stands to reason that a lot of people, because of that, believe that, well, maybe we are working alongside aliens. The government is working alongside aliens. And then it's like, okay, well, we're not the only ones, though. The United States isn't the only one who's developing technologically. They're not developing fast. You got Japan, Sweden, and a lot of people overlook Sweden.
Oh yeah,
and they really shouldn't, because Sweden is really getting up there when it comes to technology and science. So you have a lot of these countries outside the U.S. that are developing fast. What do they have their own aliens, or is it an alien at all? Are we just getting that much smarter as human beings and everything, and able to grasp things a lot easier and better than we was 20 years ago? I don't know, but I feel like Kal said, that if the government was totally involved, they probably wouldn't release it to the public in any kind of way, out of fear of how people are going to receive it, how people are going to react. Because I feel like if you, myself, and Kal were working for the government and we found proof of life, and we would sit down at a table and we would talk to each other the way we're talking to each other now, I think all of us would come to the same conclusion, that humanity isn't ready to know about this. And I feel like if that's the case, that they're doing the exact same thing. Because logically speaking, no, we're not. We can barely handle our own, private weapons, let alone alien technology, without going crazy. And as Kal said, you'll have those who want to go and hunt them down, and you have those who want to use it for their own personal gain, whether to get rich or to take over the planet for whatever reason. You have your own sector, you have your own countries that really want to take advantage of it. And I feel like that would be the worst case scenario.
Let me tack on a little thing there that you're saying. Randall in the chat, he says our tech is just getting smaller, not better. It's more of the same. We need that next thing to like really push us to the next level. What do you think something like that would be? Like, I'm asking Randall, I'm asking Kal, I'm asking you, I'm asking myself.
At this point in time, a lot of people are looking at the like she said, the next best thing, the next big thing. And a lot of people, whenever they hear that, they always want to jump into things that they see from science fiction. So they're talking about portals and stuff to be able to get from point A to point B, and flying cars and stuff like that and everything. And let's face it, it's not practical for what we have and for what we've developed compared to 20 years ago. Yes, we have developed leaps and bounds. Yeah, you're right. Smaller. But think about what that means. Whereas what computers looked like 20 years ago compared to what they look like now, smaller, more efficient, but at the same time, we wasn't able to do this 20 years ago, and we're able to do it now. Whereas an entire computer can take up a whole room and require a massive amount of energy to do this. Now we are looking towards something as small as a phone being able to do even more than what that computer was able to do 20 years ago. And you can't look at it and say, well, it took the same concept but made it smaller. No, they made it smaller and at the same time improved upon it. That would be like saying comparing your Nintendo Classic to a PlayStation 4 and say, well, it took the same concept and they just made, no, well, yeah, essentially ground level. They took the same concept, which is video games, and they improved upon it so much more. But you look at where we were before we got the PlayStation 4 15 years ago, what did we have? Nowhere near what we have right now as far as graphics and capability. And you can't look at something like that and frown upon it. And I'm using video games as just, one example and everything, but there's plenty of examples out there. I could go down the list and name how many things that we have been able to develop as a species from 20 years ago all the way up until 2018, going into 2019.
Randall's clarifying in the chat. He's pretty much saying that since for the past 10 years, things have kind of slowed down in innovation. Whereas before that, in that 20-year boost, because like I think computers were the size of rooms in the 80s, because I remember in the 90s I had a desktop computer. So
I would say it would be like better energy efficiency, right? A better power core would be like the thing, like the next innovation, like how
yes,
you know, like how cars are getting now, like from gas to being electric. And just the Tesla alone, they had a model that, you know, was going like 100 miles or whatever per, you know, one charge. Now it can go 300 miles per charge. So having a more efficient energy source, and I know we're not talking about like nuclear power, we're talking about power that every day someone can use, kind of thing. That's something that aliens can give us. You know,
no, absolutely not. Again, we have to look at the development of human beings. And when technology goes up, so does the economy. Or I guess you can't really say the economy, the price of things go up. People are not going to allow this human species to get too advanced to where we're not spending as much money. If you think about it, we can utilize the sun to power everything. You can literally utilize the sun to power everything on Earth for the next. You never have to worry about paying a power bill again. The sun is natural energy. We don't have to worry about paying for that. You don't pay for something that is natural, period. So the government and the big businesses around the world are not going to push that. The technology exists. We're just not letting it out to the public. And if you think for a second that, oh, well, you know, like you said, Randall was saying batteries have not evolved. Yes, they have. We're just not utilizing them because we're what the money be. Nobody would be making money. These big, huge corporate, they don't want to accept it because you have the one person sitting in the lab that develops it, that makes it, and it's awe-inspiring. It's great. And then he goes forward and he says, hey, guys, I want to get this done. The big names find out about it. The big wigs find out about it. And they find a way to systematically shut this guy down.
It's not even energy. It's pharmaceuticals. It's everything. Anything that's going to prevent the people from making the bottom line is pushed off to the side by either lobbyists or politicians or. By...
Well, I'm not talking about politics. You guys asked what would be the next thing that we could use.
I think
right? That's what you guys
the
asked.
answer is sustainable energy. I just don't think.
Yeah.
Like I don't think it's going to happen because yes, Tesla is you only have to pay so much to charge your car, but how much is the car? You know what I mean? Like there's always a bottom line somewhere.
Oh, most definitely.
We're not talking about that. We're talking about something an alien can give us. Because you're saying we're not getting portals anytime soon.
Because I'm with Sky. I don't think we're gonna meet any aliens until we get to a point. So if we're relying on aliens to get to a point, it's never gonna happen. I think we need to either figure out fission already. Or...
No, but this was just a question about what could they have given us, and I thought that was a question.
Oh no, my question was
because it's not we're gonna get portals because your answer was portals or whatever, right? Or what or whatever it was.
And well, no, my answer is actually neither. I think AI is actually interesting because you can't really like it can either be the best thing or the worst thing that can happen to us. Because either it kills us all, or it helps us get to that point of energy. I think having it's almost like a bridge between our intellect and something more out there would be AI.
We're at a point in humanity where money is the most important thing, and people worship money more than anything else. You have to have money in order to be able to survive, and because of that, no matter what it is that we develop behind Kal could leave right now and go invent something that would be extremely practical for everybody to be able to get around and extremely inexpensive. He can develop some kind of, I don't know, teleporter or whatever to transport matter at the most phenomenal level and everything from point A to point B. And it's anybody could do it. You have a matter transporter in your pocket. All you got to do is pull it out, click the button, or put in your destination, click the button, and boom, you're there and everything, right? Do you think that he's going to be able to step 1 foot outside of his house to be able to mass produce this thing and sell it among, you know, people? Oh, it's only $20 a pop for you guys to use it. And it never runs out of energy. You can use it anytime you want. The thing runs off of solar energy. You're good to go. You power this thing up for one day, this thing will last 20 years. You don't have to worry about it. Do you think he's going to be able to do anything with it? Absolutely not. Why? Because there's no money to be made with it.
Well, it's even worse than that is because they've probably already figured out how to do that, put the patent for it, and then have stripped the patent so nobody can ever use it. You know what I mean? Like, this has happened with...
Well, that's all politics. We're not talking about politics. We're talking about UFOs.
No, I'm not talking about politics. I'm talking about big money. Big money and politics are two different things. I mean, they're hand in hand, but they're...
No, I'm talking about politics and, like, Democrats. I'm talking about, like it's the politics of a thing where it's like, oh, we're going to have to find a way to make money out of this because, we're not going to have people get it for free. Like, that's, this has not to do with, like, what aliens can give us and stuff like that. Is what I'm trying to say. Like, or like...
Yeah, but again, I wouldn't want anything from the aliens.
I would.
I feel like that wouldn't. I feel like that wouldn't help us as a species.
No, that's what I'm saying. They want to see us. If because I'm kind of with Sky. They're not going to come out hiding until we show that we can look for them. You know what I mean? That we're looking in the right places. And if we need night vision goggles from them in order to see them, then there's no point.
They're waiting.
But there could be a way that there could be some good trade off that we have. That why else would they want to be here? They're just studying us for no reason, kind of thing. Like like
why do we want to
something maybe they eventually want?
I mean, scientists do the same thing in this world. We study. I mean, you as a scientist, Cal, you study and everything. You probably have microorganisms that you're looking at all the time, and they're probably wondering the same thing. Well, why are they looking at me? I mean, yeah. At the end of the day, you're sitting up there trying to
get something out of it.
Yeah, learn something and everything. And for them, it may be something totally different. And everything for them, it might be them keeping their distance, but at the same time watching to make sure that we don't develop to the point of destroying not only ourselves, but the galaxy that we're in as well. So they're probably looking, who knows? Again, I can't speculate and wonder why aliens do what they do, if they're watching us and why they're watching us, whether it's because they want to wait to see if we get to that point of passing the test and saying, okay, well, they got it, so it's time to reveal ourselves, or if they're just wholly looking to wait to see, like Cal was saying, if there is something that we have that they would want. If we develop the proper means of space travel to be able to travel, far beyond the reaches of space that we know of and everything, then yeah, that'd be awesome and everything. And if they already have that technology, well, then what do we have that they would need? Now, we could say resources that, that they would probably need that we have an abundance of. Water would be one of those things and everything.
Well, they can eat people.
Yeah, true.
All right, well, we are running a little late, but Sky, I want to say thank you for coming in and having a great conversation with us. This was a lot of fun. And do you want to plug where people can find you and your content?
Yeah, you can find me on YouTube at Sky Inc. My content is gaming. I do a lot of gaming. I also have another channel called The World Needs More Sky, in which I do more or less advice, different things like that, or the interview series in which I'll be interviewing people about different things that are love of life and girlfriends and boyfriends, all that good stuff and everything. And you can also find me on Twitter at MoonKnight1111.
Moon Knight is one of the most underrated Marvel heroes. And Cal, where can we find all of your great stuff?
Find me over here on the Kingslayer Network. Pretty much playing games every day. Kingslaying 4 p.m. Eastern to 6 p.m. Eastern. Currently working on Red Dead Redemption. We do have our first ever After Talk, which is a spinoff of Aftermath, coming up this Monday, hosted by Delisha and Nicole, my co-host from Gamer Grudge. They're talking about the social aspects of the women's revolution in WWE and how the crown jewel of pay-per-view tomorrow is all the controversy behind it because in Saudi Arabia. So that should be fun to talk about. It's more of a history show and a social show rather than a recap of the wrestling. There will be some recaps, but mostly, something for them to discuss things more in depth.
It is interesting because we're watching, well, we've watched Glow, but you can see how public opinion and what's going on in society affects how people play their characters or what character, because there's Zoya, who's obviously a communist Russian, and that's not a thing anymore, but you know what I mean? They've done that throughout wrestling forever. So it's a cool concept.
But now it's more about how the women are more actual wrestlers now. They're considered superstars, not divas, because they went from them being divas. Well, first they were valets to divas to now superstars. So they want to talk about the history of that and all that, and because it's the first ever all women's pay-per-view they just had this past Sunday.
Oh wow, that's
so
cool.
It was a big deal. Yeah, it was only women, except for there's one announcer that was a male. But other than that, and like some referees, but other than that, it was all women. So it was great to see, and it's a huge thing. And I want
if you're interested in that content as well as Cal's streams and stuff, there is a link in the description, as well as a link to our last Halloween episode if you want to hear a bunch of ghost stories before you go to bed. But that's it from us here on Odd Shape Channel. Next thing we got coming up is tomorrow. I'll be playing part 2 of my original Final Fantasy Let's Play or stream. I don't know what to call anything anymore. And Saturday I'll probably be playing some more Spooderman. Thanks again, everyone, for helping get us to 300 subs. You're the best. And thanks again to our Patron producers. Check us out on Twitter at OddShape Channel or Panel. I'm sorry, Channel doesn't fit. OddShape Panel on Twitter, and you can talk to Kimber if you have any cigar-shaped stories. Cigar-shaped UFO stories.
No penises.
Kimber says no penises. Dang. So go tweet at her at KimberBatch_OSP. I think that's a show. Thank you, everyone, for joining us again on another special, and have a great night.
And transmission.